HBO's The Last of Us is perfect, and it did something that no other show or movie has ever done before. If you've never played the game, you have to watch it. But to understand why it's so good, we're gonna have to take a trip back to 2013 for some context. After finally finishing the Uncharted trilogy, Naughty Dog decided to release a new video game called The Last of Us. It instantly became a massive hit and is regarded as one of, if not the best story ever told in a video game. It was so good that there are 3 versions out there of the same game, one for each console. In 2020, they released the long-awaited sequel, Part 2. And even though opinions on that game are very polarized compared to how the first game was unanimously loved, it won a shit ton of awards and is personally one of my favorite games of all time.
And now, the Game of the Year award goes to The Last of Us Part 2.
These games are both amazing, and they really set the bar when it comes to storytelling in the medium of video games, so it only made sense for them to make a TV show or movie out of it, right? I don't know if you noticed, but most movie adaptations of video games are bad. Like, really bad. Like, really bad.
Meow.
Even the best ones are mid. Most of these movies just feel like the cheap knockoff versions of their original game, and they feel like cash grabs instead of actual cinema. It's like the studios that get the adaptation rights just want to make money off the fans that these games have, so they make a bad movie and they bait fans into buying tickets, and it works. I don't know who to blame here. Is it the greedy executives or the fans that can't think critically for themselves and blindly support these movies? For example, I love Uncharted. I grew up playing the franchise, but really? Tom Holland as Nathan Drake? Mark Wahlberg as Sully? Did the casting director even play the games? Like, why is there a pirate ship getting dragged around by helicopters? Look, I know I'm getting riled up over something that's not that big of a deal, but if the movie's gonna be that different from the source material, why even call it Uncharted? This is where The Last of Us is very different. It isn't a cash grab, far from it. What this show does that no other live action adaptation has done so far is take what's great about the game and bring it to a new audience that doesn't play video games. This is the main reason why this show is as good as it is. It doesn't rely on the fans of the games to be successful. It is its own thing. There are some exceptions though. Shows like Arcane and Cyberpunk Edgerunners are amazing, but this is the first time I've seen a live action adaptation be this good. After watching the pilot, I have no doubt in my mind that this show is going to be amazing. Some of the shots here are one-to-one with the game. It feels like instead of randomly changing stuff, they kept what worked and just added to them. You can absolutely feel the passion and the love that went into this show. Only a single episode has been released by the time this video comes out, but it already skyrocketed in popularity and is IMDb's #1 show, passing Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones. Well, for now at least. Let me introduce you to Neil Druckmann. He's the director of all the projects we've talked about so far and is the reason why this story even exists. He's been working as a writer at Naughty Dog since the very beginning, but the reason why I'm even telling you about this guy is because he knows The Last of Us like the back of his hand. If anyone on this earth understands why this story is so good, it's him. I've been following the development of this show for a very long time. In 2014, they tried to make the first game into a movie with Sam Raimi directing it, but it got cancelled because fitting a 15 to 20 hour long story into a 2-hour long feature film is pretty much impossible without compromising the pacing. The adaptation rights went back to Naughty Dog and PlayStation, and Neil brought upon himself to take care of the adaptation and met up with Craig Mazin, the showrunner for Chernobyl. Craig was a big fan of the game and it was his dream to turn it into a show. So, Neil and Craig shook hands and decided to make this thing happen. Every single thing that I heard about this show before the premiere was a sign that this show was going to be something special. The creator of the original game being so involved with the show was reassuring. Craig even said in an interview that they do not want to make 12 seasons of this show because they believe in endings and quality over quantity, unlike Walking Dead. And he also said that they do not want to go past the source material, so when the show eventually catches up to the end of the second game, they'll have to wait for the third game to release. Unlike Game of Thrones with the books. Here's a clip of Craig explaining why this show is different from any other adaptation, and I love his answer.
I'm certainly aware of the video game curse.
The easy part was that I got the best story ever told in video games, in my opinion. This incredible relationship and a video game that naturally lent itself, I thought, to long form storytelling. The trick is to love it. Honestly, it's as simple as that. Love it and love the characters, love the relationships, love the world, love all the little details, understand it, play it over and over. All these things then lead into a place where you can carry the soul through.
I think HBO was the perfect streaming service they could have chosen for this story. HBO has Euphoria, Game of Thrones, Peacemaker, Succession, Barry. I could go on and on naming a bunch of amazing shows, but one thing they all have in common is that their audience is mainly adults. The Last of Us fits perfectly in that list, and if you're a fan of any of the shows I just named, you would absolutely love The Last of Us. Even if you've played the games before, this is still a very refreshing take on the story. Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey had massive shoes to fill because how can you possibly replace Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson? But I'm happy to say that so far, they delivered. I think everyone, including me, had very high expectations for this show, but so far, it is perfect. And that is why you have to watch The Last of Us. This is a very brutal and mature show, so if you're looking for something you could watch with your family, or anyone for that matter, you should watch my review on Puss in Boots, where I explain why that movie is so good. And you should also subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. Anyway, see you.